and to understand the beauty that is around us. I also told you that because I don't know if you noticed, but none of those moons that I just mentioned to you, none of those moons is named after a Roman emperor. Did you hear that? Not a single one, you know? It is in fact possible to have an entire worldview that has nothing to do with empire. I just wanted to tell you that because it's something to remember. Because we are all products, you know, in any way, by and large, if you're here. I spent a lot of time in school myself. We are products of a dominant paradigm which presumes a set of teachings that we become accustomed to. And so, in fact, I think we become accustomed to the idea that empire is durable. Empire is sustainable, and we, in fact, live in empire. And the argument that I think, I will make, but I don't think I really need to make it, is that at a certain point, conquest is not sustainable. You cannot keep consuming more than your share of the world's resources. We consume a third of the world's resources, right? This country. What does that require? That requires constant intervention into other people's territories, constant violations of other people's human rights, and a set of unsustainable and inefficient practices, which mean that over time we degrade that which we rely on, whether it is the water, or whether it is the air, or the topsoil, you know. In the past 150 years, we've seen a lot of catastrophes, and they continue to increase. They don't really diminish. Whether it is the extinction of species, extinction of more species in the past 150 years than since the polar ice caps, the fact that we raised the temperature already 1 degree, we're headed towards 2, you know, which is going to cause a massive loss of ecosystems and a whole bunch of islands to go under, you know, let alone vast changes in our weather patterns and more storms, yeah, as well as the rise of diseases that will move places they should not be moving in the first place because we have changed ecosystems. We have caused a high level of contamination, you know, in our water, in our world. Got about 100,000 chemicals out there right now in the United States. A lot of them in your water. 100,000 chemicals, and most of us can't pronounce them. We don't even know what's in them, but we're all carrying around a good dosage in our bodies, right? Particularly if you were raised in an urban area. You got them whether it's from jet fuel or from dry cleaners or from the estrogen and birth control pills. You got them all in your system. Now, who did that impact assessment? Each of them was individually regulated, but the collective impact is what we're carrying around, you know, and we will be feeling more and more of, right? So essentially what I will say to you is that at a certain point, it might be worth thinking about how to deconstruct, I could say liberate our minds and say that perhaps we want to get outside of the box to think of what the solutions are. That's what I'm suggesting. Because if you keep, I think it's maybe Wes Jackson who said, if you're in a hole and it's getting worse, you might want to quit digging, you know, and at a certain point figure out where you are and maybe look at a different plan. So let me talk about a different paradigm a little bit. I'm going to talk about what is an indigenous paradigm. And I'm going to say this, with deference and say that I don't know a lot of indigenous teachings, but I do know some from my own area. And I think that they have broader implications. And I know that when I tell you that I think that indigenous thinking has essential and important constructs to consider when we move and transform our society to the next economy and to the next paradigm. I say this because I believe it, but I say it also to affirm and ask you to consider it because I know, I went to Harvard, I was an undergraduate at Harvard. I know that indigenous thinking is not viewed on par with the thoughts that come out of Western Europe or scientific paradigms. I know that in general, scientific paradigms and European thinking in a university like this, or most of them, you get a very Eurocentric education. That's the reality. And you get it sprinkled with some kind of multiculturalism. But by and large, you got a Eurocentric paradigm that you're learning. I'm saying this because when I was at Harvard, for instance, if you wanted to study art, If you want to study art from Europe, you went to the Fine Arts Department. Yeah? If you wanted to study art from Native America, you went to anthropology. So what does that tell you about valuation of culture and knowledge and creativity? That's what I'm saying. Two of the largest industries of this country are waste management and prisons, right? Big ones, right? Obviously the military eclipses all that. We know that. But, and energy, not big, that too. But I'm saying in terms of the construct. So what are those examples of? Those are examples of a linear economy. The waste management. We are a society which today about 70% of our economy is based on consuming. It's a consumer economy. Now the thing about the consumer economy is that you got to create this stuff, and then by and large you got to throw the stuff away, right? When you're done with it. Any of you see this movie called The Story of Stuff? Right? That's a perfect example of that. And what does she say? Like 95% of the stuff is 3 months later is in a landfill, right? I'm not sure, you know, on what is the most durable thing. I was staying at the fancy hotel over here, and they're moving all the TVs out, and I was wondering where those TVs were going. You know, one time I had a young woman who came and worked for me, and she said, when they say throw it away, where is away? Right? Where is away? You know, could be one landfill, could be some third world country. Just try to get it away. Yeah. So we produce about 50 trillion pounds of waste a year, not including wastewater, which I conceptually have a problem with, the idea of wastewater, how you create wastewater. But having said that, that means you got to have a lot of landfills. That means you got to keep producing more landfills. And if you want a long-term economic plan for your little rural area, bid for a landfill. You'll be good, right? Now, is that a really good plan, though, to have so much wealth focused on garbage, right? That'd be my argument, is that's an example of a linear economy which is not durable or strategically, it's not strategic environmentally, economically, or health-wise. A second example is, of course, the prison economy, which is the social production of waste. In that, we are the largest prison economy in the world. 9 million prisoners in the world, 2.1 million of them in the United States. Now, to have an economy that is based largely on, you know, promoting more prisons and bidding for those in a rural area or in any area, right, as a growth industry, not a good plan over the long haul, would be my argument. The more people you imprison, the less sustainability and durability and less respect you have in your society. So having said that, my argument would be that if we were going to redo indicators of what is value in terms of GDP or wealth or quality of life in the world, we would not say high prison population is an indicator of a healthy country. We would in fact say that it is probably not. But of the 9 million prisoners in the world, 2.1 million in the United States, and that number is growing. So that is an example of a couple of examples of a linear economy. In Dinaway, Mugunatuck, we are all related. We do not act as if we are. We're very, very anthropocentric. In our worldviews, we make decisions based largely on human interests. We commodify most of our relatives, and we commodify land itself, only in terms of its utilitarian benefit towards us. And in the end, we kind of cast them off. We say that they did not survive because of, Darwin or whatever it is. But most extinctions have nothing to do with the lack of survival of the fittest. Most recent extinctions have to do with our policy, our choices, that which we kill. Whether it is the extinction of buffalo or the near extinction of buffalo or the destruction of the rainforest. You can't hang out if you don't have a habitat. So it's not their fault, if they do not exist. So I say that because in these arguments, I think that there is this fact that it is not sustainable over the long haul. Finally, 7th generation from now. We don't do that at all in this country. We, in fact, are very geared. You're probably geared for semesters or terms. Is that what you are on? But the society is not geared for making a decision based on the 7th generation from now. Most of the society is today geared on corporate, quarterly profits.